My name is Travis. I'm the owner of Woodcrafters Construction, and Sarah is co-hosting with us. And Sarah is our production coordinator. And did you get your photos from the showroom okay, Sarah?
Yeah, I did.
Awesome. So we do have a few folks. So I will do a slow start to the slideshow and give some more folks a chance to kind of log in and check things out. To start off, we are presenting the Woodcrafters office. We did a full down to the studs renovation of a commercial building back in 2017. And we now use it as our office and showroom. And we used the project as a way to showcase built green practices and to showcase some of the materials and products that you could use for that. First thing I'll do is I'll go into full screen mode so you can see the slides without too much distraction. Getting things started, the slideshow is being recorded. So if you don't want to see your face or hear your voice, you can chat. Sarah is watching the chat, and if you have any questions or want to bring up any points, shoot her a message and she'll read it to the group so we can go through the chat. So to do an overview on the project, Woodcrafters Construction did a full overhaul and remodel of an existing commercial building in Ballard. The structure was over 100 years old and it was very poorly maintained. It had been a commercial electrical company for about 40 years. And I think they had just a zero maintenance policy. The roof had been leaking for over 15 years. The siding was almost ruined. It was all single pane windows, knob and tube wiring, galvanized water supply. It should have been torn down, but we decided to not do that and keep it and give it some new life. The project includes a lot of different green and sustainable features. Design innovation, advanced building envelope, energy efficiency, indoor air quality, material conservation, water conservation. We did stormwater infiltration in the front yard, and then we have EV charging and smart controls. This image is a plug for Woodcrafters Construction. We tried to get as many logos into an image as possible. And it also shows the front of the building, which has the rain gardens and shows off all the nice native plants. Little history on the building. It was built in 1903. It was a single family home at the time. And so it looks just like a single family home. It had undergone quite a few remodels and then went through a period of about 40 years of neglect. It was rezoned as a commercial property in 1950s. And so could be used as an office or retail space at that point. We purchased it in 2017 and spent about 6 months doing the remodel. Now that the remodel is done, we use it as an office, a showroom. There's a wood shop in the back for making cabinetry, and also tool and material storage. Our goal for doing this was to showcase the talents of our carpenters and to showcase the work that we can do. Have a showroom so our clients could come in and look at material and touch and feel things, and also just show off as many built green concepts as possible. These are a couple photos of what it looked like from the beginning. The image to the left shows the office before we started. They were pack rats. There was a lot of stuff that they had to move out. You can see the drop ceiling. And if you look close, you can see all the water staining on the panels, which was pretty evident once we started working on the place. I think there was leaks in 15 different locations. The image in the center is the front of the building before we had done the renovation. And then on the right image, that's my demo crew. We had a bunch of kids and friends over to start the demolition of the project. The first category that we focused on was the building envelope. We started by replacing the roof and all the soffits and added venting to the attic and the soffits. It didn't have any venting. We also replaced all the siding on the back of the shop with metal siding, and we did metal roofing on the shop. And we chose Galvalume because Galvalume is much better for stormwater runoff. The windows were all replaced. We used Marvin and Milgard windows, double pane windows with low E glazing, and we did extra air sealing and flashing when they were installed. They were a U value of about 0.27 to 0.3, not over the top because we did not do triple pane, but they were much more efficient than they were before. For the insulation, we did spray foam for all the exterior walls, which does an amazing job of air sealing and gives you a better R value per inch of thickness than traditional fiberglass insulation. For all the interior walls, we used rock wool, which is a recycled mining tailings, and it provides great air and sound deadening. We also did a lot of extra air sealing before we did the insulation and drywall. The air sealing is done per code, but then you could do extra air sealing to get every single penetration from every wire and every plumbing and ductwork penetration. And we also, for the air sealing, used special electrical boxes. They have a gasket. So there's a gasket that goes around the electrical box. And when you install the drywall, you use a special caulking and it seals it to every one of those boxes. And so you prevent the air leakage. When the drywall was installed, we used acoustical sealant for every window, every door, top and bottom edges. And all of that does a really good job of sealing the wall cavities and preventing air leakage into the structure. The waste minimization was just the fact that we didn't tear down the building. We kept the building, we kept the shell, we kept the foundation, and remodeled the rest. The other thing we did was all the construction debris was taken to United Recycling, and they recycle about 70% of all the material that you bring. And so they compost the wood, they recycle the cardboard, they recycle the metal, and all those things. I do have some images of that. But as I go into the images, if anyone's got any questions or anything they want to bring up in the chat, feel free to pop in if this particular area of built green innovations is something that's of interest. The image on the upper left shows the new windows being installed, and the image on the bottom left shows the inside of that same window package. You can see if you look close that there's the orange foam in between all the different wire penetrations. You can see the white caulking beads at all the wall junctions, top and bottom plates and things like that. And then the image to the right shows the metal siding being installed on the back shop. Inside the structure, you can see the rock wool insulation going in for all the partition walls for sound control. You can also see the rigid foam in the upper left image. The spray foam is installed in a more complete manner than when you do fiberglass insulation. Fiberglass insulation is only as good as the installation. It's really easy to have areas that are overcut or where there's a bad fit. And in any of those places, you lose a lot of performance. And so the spray foam takes care of that. The image in the bottom right, you can see the rock wool, but in the bottom of that image, you can see the green and black outlet box. And that's an example of one of those gasketed boxes. And that's where you can do the sealant when the drywall is installed. We also focused in on new mechanical systems. We had a goal of eliminating all the gas appliances and fixtures in the building. And so we capped the gas meter and took out all that gas pipe. We installed a energy recovery ventilator, or an ERV, to provide fresh air to the building. And it also conditions the air. So it uses the warm air that's being exhausted as a way to heat the incoming cold air. So it's a really efficient system that just runs in the background continuously. For heat, we did a Mitsubishi mini split heat pump system, and we did a ducted air handler. The ducted air handler is in the attic, and you have insulated ductwork going to each room. And so it looks more like a traditional home. Instead of having the mini split head units in each room, you don't need to see those. You can just have the air handler instead. We also did supplemental heat using infrared panels. We got those from Mining Energy Solutions. And the infrared panels and cove heaters are electric, and they're very easy to install, and they're easy to route. Sometimes you can't get ductwork to a certain room in the house, or you can't get ductwork from the basement to a new second-story addition. And so having an alternate way to do efficient heating is really important. We also did a high-efficiency electric water heater, and we did Panasonic Whisper Green exhaust fans. There's my son. He's just popping in to say hello.
No, I'm
getting some shoes. Okay, good. Perfect timing. Thanks, bud. Here's some images of some of the things that we just talked about. To the left, you see the outdoor unit for the mini split heat pump. In the center, you see the ERV, which is providing the fresh air for the building. And then on the right, you see the cold air returns for the air handler for the mini split system. And then in this image is on the left, the infrared panels for heat. And on the right is an infrared cove heater. And each one of those is on its own thermostat. And so you can control the temperature by room or shut it off. We did these as an example because each room is already heated from the heat pump. These were functional, but really more just for our clients can see them. Does anyone have any questions about any of these heating or cooling systems?
We did just have a question pop up, Travis.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. Your title is Green Home Tour Support.
Yeah, I'm just popping around helping support you guys today, but I did have a question. So since we have some capacity, I hope you can answer my questions. And my name is Ellie, by the way.
Hi, Ellie.
Hi, Ellie.
Go ahead and ask your question. You can go ahead and do it direct since you're unmuted.
Okay. Yeah, my question is the mini splits helpful filtering out the air?
Yes, if you remember to replace the air filter.
Okay. And then the follow-up questions would be, can it handle a MERV 13 4-inch air filter?
So the filters for this unit, and that is one of the benefits of doing a mini split with an air handler instead of the individual head units. The head units have a pretty small filter that's built into the equipment, and they're a very specific size. You can't really change or modify them. A mini split with an air handler has the same sort of integrated filter at the unit, but also at the cold air return, which I'll go back up to. So on the right there, the cold air returns currently have 2-inch filters, one in each side there. And so you basically have 2 filters deep, one at the air handler unit itself, and then another air filter system at the cold air return register. And I can't get 4-inch based on just the ductwork size that I have there now. But if that's something that you wanted to do, you could put in, at the time of the install, just a deeper bodied air intake that would be able to have one of those air filters.
Thank you. One of the things that, I was thinking about was just, would the mini splits be powerful enough to, actually push the air through the 4-inch filter? Just because it's going to increase pressures in the ductwork, right?
Right. And so that would be something I'd have to talk to my subcontractor about.
Gotcha.
With that, anytime we have something where it might be pushing the limits of what a system can do, it's always good to have that discussion up front and to go through that with the technicians, and they can run the specs. They might go to a larger air handler unit itself. Those air handlers are sized based on the square footage of the space and the number of rooms. And they might size it based on a normal filter, and they might need to go up to one size larger in order to compensate for that.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
It's a good timely question because we all want AC and filtered air right now.
Yeah, we do.
Well, I'll go to finishes now. So once we got the drywall done and all of our roughing complete, we focused on the interior finishes. we, throughout the building, tried to incorporate as much as we could following built green practices. The first one was the flooring was an engineered oak, which reduces waste from traditional hardwood floors. And also, because it was pre-finished, there was no VOCs being sprayed or installed in the space. And so that kept the VOCs out of the building. The desks were all made from paper stone, and the back kitchen was made from a recycled fir butcher block. The fir butcher blocks came from a company down in Oregon that recycles old building materials. And the paper stone came from Green Home Solutions, which is a company that's located right by the Ballard Bridge. And we do a lot of work with those guys. The owner, Pater, is a great resource for everything green when it comes to finishes. And he's a really helpful person if you're trying to find the right material for your project. The cabinets in our showrooms were made by Solera Cabinetry. They're a local company, local-ish. They're in Canada, but they're up in Surrey, BC, which is just north of Bellingham. And they are ESP certified. The cabinets, trim, flooring, and other finishes were all formaldehyde-free. And then for the adhesives and paint, we used either low or no VOC paint. Couple images of the finishes being installed. The image to the left is the oak flooring being installed. In the upper right, you can see the paper stone countertops for the desks. We used different types. In one of the offices, we did the traditional paper stone, which is a through body color, so the entire thickness of the material is the same color. In the desks here, we did a paper stone that's on top of a Europly. And so the edge of the countertop has the nice Europly look with all the different layers of the plywood. And then in the third office, we did a new type of paper stone, which has alternating black and gray strips of paper, which gives it a really neat look. In the bottom right image, you can see the finished desks. And we chose to use a reclaimed fir for skirting the bottoms of the desks. When we did the demo on this building, we took up the carpet and found beautiful vertical grain subfloor, and it had never been stained. It was just gorgeous. And so we carefully uninstalled all the old TNG fir flooring and then remilled it and then repurposed it to make the skirting for the desks. In the next slide, you can see the cabinetry. The upper left image is walnut cabinets made by Solera. And the island is a painted maple. And then the white cabinets to the right would be a painted maple. And in the bottom left image, that's the functional kitchen. In the front of the office, we have showroom, and that's the first two images. And then the green cabinets in the back, that's where there's actually appliances, and we can make food and stuff when we have our breaks. The green kitchen in the bottom shows you the reclaimed fir butcher block countertops. These images show you some close-up detail of some of the items in the office. The central image shows you a nice close-up view of the paper stone countertops for the desks, and you can see that Europly layering there. And then the fir is the reclaimed fir from the subfloors, and the dark frame that you see is actually old structural posts from the basement that we were able to remill and turn into the frames for the skirts. Also for the interior finishes, we reused a lot of recycled building products from other job sites. When you do construction, sometimes something comes damaged or there's a misorder, so you have an extra toilet or an extra light or something laying around. Sometimes we'll have clients change their minds on what they want after the material's been purchased, or you just have extra. And so we keep all that stuff, and we're able to incorporate a new toilet, new light switches, some of the lights, tile backsplash, and other things we'd already had. So we just kept that as a way to recycle and reclaim some of that material. We also, for all the lighting, we did dedicated LED can lights and dedicated surface mounted fixtures. And when I wired the office, we were able to do 1,000 square feet with just 2 lighting circuits. The wattage demand is so much lower. A typical can light is about 75 watts, and a dedicated LED can light is 6 watts, maybe 8 watts at the most. So you can imagine if you do an entire building that way, it really reduces the energy demand. We also had low flow toilets, faucets, and shower heads as part of the mechanisms for saving some of the water. The next slide, we just have some close-ups of some of the other materials and finishes. In our office, we made kind of a show bathroom, and you can see LED lights. The ceiling fan that you see there is a Whisper Green Panasonic fan, which is a really efficient exhaust fan that has module controls. So you can put in a control so that it will control the humidity, and it'll automatically turn on if the humidity goes too high. We have some close-ups of the plumbing fixtures and also of the appliances that were repurposed. And it looks like we have Chris and another Chris that just joined us. Welcome, you guys. We're about midway through the presentation, but feel free to chat if you have any questions. Feel free to interrupt me. Questions are welcome. And Sarah, she's at the top of the screen. She's checking in on the chat. So if you have any questions at all, just go ahead and shoot her a message. So in this slide, you see examples of the dedicated LED lights that were used. You can also see on the upper left image a under cabinet light and integrated outlets made by Legrand, and some of the Legrand fancy lighting controls. These light switches are all hooked up to a smart hub that you can control remotely. And also they have pretty neat touchscreen features and things like that. Then also, once we were done with the finishes of this project, we looked at the outside. The main component of the outside work that we did was to integrate stormwater infiltration and rain gardens into the space. We worked with West Edge Landworks and completely redid the front of the property to include a patio, a gabion basket wall, and 2 large rain gardens. 100% of all of the rainwater coming off of the structure goes through these rain gardens. And they very rarely fill up and overflow. It's pretty amazing in the wintertime. You'll see them get about 1 foot of water in them, and then by the next day, it all goes into the groundwater. So it's really fun to kind of watch that and be able to kind of gauge the intensity of a winter storm by seeing how full your rain garden gets. We also incorporated native plants and shrubs, and so that is good wildlife habitat for songbirds and other critters. We did add a car charging unit to the outside of the building. We do have a Nissan Leaf that the company owns for job site visits and bids and stuff. Finally, we have smart controls in the building. We can control the lighting remotely, so you don't accidentally leave the lights on. All the rooms have motion sensor light switches, so they go on and off based on use. And we also have a smart alarm and deadbolt system. In these images, you can see on the left the layout of the rain gardens as we were just getting started. And then you can see the rain gardens partway through construction on the right image. And in this image on the left, you can see the gabion basket wall, and you can see one of the rain gardens in the patio. In the right slide, you can see the 2 pipes coming from the main downspout drains from the building. And then in the center is a transfer pipe, and that brings water from one rain garden to the next to balance them in case one gets more full than the other. In this image, you can see the rain gardens with all the plantings fully established. You can see the car charger that we have. And also in these images, you see more of the rain garden plants and patio and things like that. So in conclusion, we did not run this project through the Built Green certification because it's a commercial property. We did consult the Built Green worksheets and estimate that this would have been a 4-star rated project if they did commercial spaces. And our motivation wasn't necessarily to get the certificate. A lot of our clients incorporate Built Green. Not all of them want to do the certification. Most of them want to do these things because they have a lot of Built Green goals in mind, either indoor air quality or reusing materials or things like that. We took this as an opportunity to incorporate as much as we could. And it's a really nice way to showcase and show our clients how these things work, how they function, and again, to touch and feel all the different components before they go into their homes. So if anyone has any questions, any comments you want to bring up, please go ahead.
So Ellie did just ask another question regarding gray water reuse or repurpose. Ellie, do you want to go ahead and ask it, or shall I ask it for you?
I still have a minute with you guys, so why not?
Okay, go for it.
Yeah, I've been following Earthship's projects down in New Mexico, and I just thought that it's so wonderful that they could reuse their gray water, from cooking or showering to water their kind of moisture warm bins or water their indoor plant before, so the water get recycled and reused 3 or 4 times before they actually get, just kind of seep into the earth and go to maybe a very small septic tank. Is there any way to attempt to do that in a city, dwellers environment?
That's a good question. And the concept of gray water recycling is a pretty simple one. But in practice, it's pretty challenging. One of our plumbing contractors is really, really well versed in it. And we've talked about it and discussed it in a number of jobs. And you need to, number one, isolate from the rest of the systems. So in the plumbing, you want to separate out the drain pipes, for black water versus gray water. And then you need holding tanks, and you also need filtration. And so in a regulated environment like Seattle or King County, it's not just doing the plumbing part to separate the uses and then to have a pump and be able to use it for other things. They want us to actually filter and keep it out of any of the freshwater systems. And so the cost of it gets pretty high until you get into like a multifamily sort of scenario. If you get into a larger building, a commercial space or multifamily, then you can incorporate these systems and the cost of benefit is a lot better. But on a single family home, a customer would just really, really want to have to do it. And it's not really going to pencil out cost-wise. But if someone's really, they're gung-ho, then we'll certainly do it. But most of the time, our water reuse, it's really doing cisterns to collect rainwater. And you can certainly make those easier to use by incorporating pumps and things like that. When I've got rainwater collection at my house, and the water, when you turn it on, it just dribbles out. You have to stand there for a long time to water your garden. And so if you hook up a transfer pump and you put in some controls, it's not such a pain in the butt.
That sounds great. Thank you.
Absolutely.
We do have a client right now who is interested in using gray water to flush his toilets and for laundry. So what we've planned to do in his home, because he's not ready to take on the investment of the full system, is to run the second pipe to each of those final locations, so that when he is ready to make that change and put the infrastructure in, he's able to do that without as much difficulty.
Yeah, I was at kind of like just a meeting or a joint webinar, I think, with a lot of other architects that are working on multifamily or high rises, and they said the same thing. A lot of buildings are not LEED certified, but they could be built and designed so that they are LEED certified ready. Whenever they are ready to get started on that process, they could. The infrastructure is already there. They don't have to kind of open any walls to add any extra pipes or systems in. So I think that's a really great idea that could be pitched to many people so that they can do it in phrases. Because I think if you drop it in someone's lap, it could be, like you said, significant cost.
Yeah, that's a good point. We will oftentimes will pre-wire for a heat pump that they're going to do later. A heat pump system can be expensive.
Yeah.
but we'll run the copper line, we'll run the power, and we'll figure out where the systems are going to be located so they could do it, 1 or 2 years later.
Sounds great. Maybe we could attempt to do it with the gray water recycling and repurpose system too.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to think of other examples of things that we do ahead of time. Sometimes we'll do a recirculation pump from the water heater to the furthest fixture away so that you don't waste as much water waiting for your water to heat up for your shower. And it adds about $1,500 to do the pump, the timer, and the plumbing to do a recirculation loop. But it's only $300 to just run the pipe from point A to point B and have it ready for the future. So we do that oftentimes too.
Wow.
So solar ready is another one.
Yeah. The built green practices that we incorporated into this office added maybe 2 to 3% to the overall project cost. It was not a huge expense because I didn't do any of the big ticket items. We didn't do solar panels yet, or some, geothermal or anything else like that. But you can certainly go through a lot of the easy stuff and the stuff that's not too expensive and get a lot done.
So one of the things that I see a lot being sold at like Home Depot, that it was like $150 or $200 recirculation pump for hot water heater. They market it as, you can install it in less than an hour yourself. Are those effective at all?
Not if you don't have a loop that goes to the furthest fixture away. You basically have a lot of dead end streets at all the fixtures, and you want to have all those lateral plumbing lines, you want to have them be 5 feet or less, and then a loop of water going around to all those small laterals. If you don't do that, then you're wasting a lot of water waiting for that plug of hot water to go to the whole plumbing system.
Yep, that is true. Well, thank you and enjoy your show. It's been wonderful. We'll check back in a bit.
Thank you.
Ellie. Nice to see you.
Nice to meet you guys too.
Hi, John. How you doing? This is Travis. I'm the owner of Woodcrafters Construction. Oh, he just left.
John's out.
Probably because it was clear that we were just finishing. Also thanking sponsors that helped out with the tour. We do a good amount of work with Mighty House. They're the ones that supplied the infrared panels for our office, and they're a great resource for education. I mentioned Green Home Solutions. Pater is the manager there. He is an encyclopedia. He knows so much. He helped me get the right product for finishing the paper stone counters, any flooring finishes and things like that. He's a really, really knowledgeable guy. And Dunn Lumber donated money for our tiny house project. So they're an awesome business partner as well. Well, thank you guys for coming by. I appreciate your time. I'll cycle us back to the front and we'll see who else comes in to check things out. And again, we're here till noon. So if anyone pops back in or has questions later, you can feel free to reach out.
We have a question, Travis, from Marcia about the infrared panels, and she's asking if we have a link to find out more. Yes, so the infrared panels were supplied by Mighty House Energy Solutions. They have the residential construction company as well as a heating company, and I believe it is Mighty House.
Your sound went dead, but it's Mighty Energy Solutions is the infrared panel supplier.
Yes.
And
when we did the panels, they also helped us with the sizing and doing the calculations for the room size and how many panels you needed and getting the thermostats for them also.
Marcia, I will put the link in the chat here. One moment.
Hi, Richard. I see you just joined us. We had just finished our run through the slideshow, but you're more than welcome to stay. I can restart and go through things from the top if you like. And Jenny and Marcia just went through it with us, but Richard, it's good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
What's your background, Richard? Are you a homeowner, architect?
No, homeowner.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's your interest in green building? Is it air quality, energy efficiency? What are some of your most
I'm getting ready to do a remodel that'll be focused mostly on improving the envelope and making the house more comfortable and not as expensive to heat.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the neat thing about the Built Green program is, the manual that we have is, like this thick, and it gives you whole sections that are focused on different areas of green building. There's sections on water use, there's sections on green landscaping, there's sections on indoor air quality. And, if you're building a house from the ground up, ideally you take a little bit from each one of those sections. But with you doing a retrofit or a remodel, sometimes, you really just focus in on the things that matter the most to you. So it's nice in that way. Some of our clients do triple pane windows, and you could get to like a 0.15 or a 0.18. But we also realize that if you're, really wanting to focus on sound control, if you live in a noisy area, the double pane windows with thicker glass is better for soundproofing than a triple pane window. The triple pane windows are much better for the U value and the insulation property, but not as good for sound control.
That's interesting. I feel like one of the other sites I visited said the opposite.
Well, I learned this the hard way. We had done a 4-star new house from the ground up, and he was right on Northgate Avenue. So his backyard was right up against Northgate, and it was really loud. And we installed triple pane windows from Atrium, and it was pretty noisy in the back of the house. And we had the window reps come out, and they said, oh, if you would have told us you were more interested in sound, we actually would have done it, this other way. And so they came out, and actually we kept the frames in place, but they swapped out all the glass in the back of the house. And what they had done was they had done double pane, but they had done different thickness of the panes of glass, and having the different thickness in the materials really helped mitigate the sound. And I want to say that we kept the main floor, the bigger windows, as triple pane, but they made one of the glass panes a different thickness than the other, so it wouldn't resonate. Now, I think a triple pane window is going to have better sound control properties than any old single pane windows would. But they did some specific things with playing with the glass thicknesses in order to maximize the sound control.
Well, good to know.
And I really value and rely on the experts in the field. So if you're talking to a window salesperson, you want to find someone that's really knowledgeable and isn't just there to sell you this brand versus that brand. Right. The vendor we use is Lundgren Enterprises. And our salesperson, Brian, has been doing it for 30 years. And, you've got really deep institutional knowledge. And I lean heavily on him on a lot of our jobs. It's a really slick system, and they're really easy to install.
Sorry, so is the ERV in the picture on the right with the two things, are those?
Oh, that is actually just the cold air intake, the cold air returns for the mini split system.
Oh, I see. Okay. And because I feel like I've seen in some of the others, like ERVs that just through the wall that are they just sort of look like about 6 inches square. Is this just a bigger version of the same thing? Or?
Yeah, so this one, it kind of looks like a large exhaust fan like you'd have in a bathroom. And it just runs continuously in the background at a really low rate of about 10 CFM. A bath fan runs at about 100 CFM. So it's about 10% of the air movement. So it doesn't need that much electricity to run. And ours, go ahead.
Sorry, you just have one in the whole building, or?
Yeah, and so you put them in the large public area. On a bigger house, we would have one per floor. In our office, we just have one in the main central area, and it services the whole floor.
Okay.
Panasonic makes a larger ERV that has 4 ports instead of 2 ports. And that one you could actually run pipe to every single room. Like if you've got a top floor with a lot of bedrooms and all the doors are closing off the airflow, then you would use a different ERV with 4 ports, and you would actually run pipes to each room.
So Richard, what I think you're referring to is the through wall vent, which is a passive system and fulfills the requirement needed for a lot of houses. So there are multiple options for indoor air quality and making sure that you don't, when you super seal a home, that you don't have a negative air pressure happening when you're exhausting different rooms. So the through wall units that I think you're referring to keep that air balance in place. And it's just a passive system so that as air gets pulled out of the space and vented, fresh air can come in through the wall.
Okay, thanks.
And that's kind of the problem you have, when you use a mini split heat pump system and you use those head units or those cassette units. One of those units can handle a large area, 600 square feet or so. So in a modern open floor plan house, you don't need very many head units because it's all open floor plan. If you have a new second story that you're adding to a house and it's all bedrooms with closed doors, then you need to put a head unit in every single room because you don't get that airflow once the door's closed. And so that's why I like the ducted heat pump system in that scenario. So you don't have, to me, having all those head units doesn't look very good. They're all visible from the outside, and a lot of times all the copper lines feeding them are all surface mounted to the outside, and it's not as clean looking. So yeah, it varies per house. Again, it's a really good time to trust the experts and to really get good advice for what setup works best for you. In heating and cooling land, there's a lot of different ways to set things up, and it's really situational. Each one of our jobs, we usually do something different depending on the layout of the house, the floor plan, the age and condition of existing systems, and that kind of thing.
And certainly the type of work that's being done, if it's a remodel or if you're, going back to the studs, or if it's a ground up, you can start fresh with a system of your choice. But yeah, as Travis said, very, very project specific for the HVAC work.
Absolutely.
So Travis, Heidi did come through with a question a little while ago about the infrared heaters that we installed in the 2 offices, the radiant panel heaters in the one office on the ceiling and the other cove heater. And her question was whether or not they were rated for wet spaces. And I actually just touched base with Laura from Mighty Energy Solutions, and they are not. They cannot be used in bathrooms. Unfortunately, there's not an option right now for radiant surface mounted in bathroom spaces. But for radiant, you can do in-floor electric below the tile is an option, as well as there's a film that goes behind the green board, which is an option that allows for radiant in a bathroom space.
Right. And we have also done towel warmers. So you could do electric or hydronic towel warmers as a way to heat a bathroom as well. But yeah, that's a good point, Heidi. The other aspect is, can infrared be used for outdoor patio areas? And yes, you can, and it's common, but you definitely need to use a different system for the outdoor infrared.
Mighty Energy Solutions actually does have a new pamphlet out that I've seen recently for outdoor units, which is pretty comprehensive.
Nice. And the panels that we got were from Mighty Energy, and they're a great resource. They help you size them, how big, how many units do you need. They provide the thermostats and all that. And also, we have a couple photos that Sarah added at the end. I will go to those here.
Travis, they're in the folder where the
Got it.
PowerPoint is. Yeah.
So in keeping with having people coming through the office, we set up little vignettes of different products and materials in our kitchen. But since no one's actually able to walk through, we have photos. So this shows a motorized damper. Motorized dampers are used for doing, yes.
It's not coming up on our screen, I don't think.
Oh, it's not? Huh. Well, let me see if I can fix that. If not, we will just say we're good.
Are there any other questions, Heidi, Nancy, or Jay, while he's working on pulling those photos up?
So can you see the photo now?
You can see it, yeah.
Awesome.
Welcome, Jennifer. We're just finishing our run through of our presentation and taking a look at a few green products.
So we set up a couple different things kind of around the office, and they're all kind of done in different categories. I'm talking and working here, so give me a sec. There we go. All right, so I should be able to click through these. Are you able to see that, Sarah?
Yes, we see that. Thank you.
Okay. So we had some window catalogs set out, and whenever you're doing window replacements and retrofits, it's really good to have a very experienced salesperson.
Sorry, Travis. We are currently looking at the damper and the ERV catalog and the sealant.
Oh, interesting. That's not what I'm looking at.
That's too bad.
Oh, well. Well, we might not be able to get through that then. Let's see. So you're looking at that image. I see. Yeah, I've got each one of these photos in a different window, and Zoom wants you to redirect it one at a time to every single image it looks like. So that might be a little tedious. But at any rate, this damper is used for fresh air intake. And there's also our Panasonic catalog for the ERVs sitting here. The next vignette that we had next to that was all of the materials we use for doing advanced air sealing and stuff. And we had a bunch of samples of flooring and countertops and things like that. But most of those things were all in the slideshow. So I won't bore you with trying to get through all these different photos, but thank you for coming. Thank you for listening to the presentation. And again, feel free to chat or hit us up on our website if you have any follow-up questions or want to come take a look at our showroom. We are doing face-to-face meetings with customers on kind of a limited basis. A lot of our design meetings are on Zoom right now, but we are still meeting customers face-to-face when needed.
Thank you very much. It was very informative.
Yeah, absolutely, Nancy. Thanks for coming and sharing this very hazy, scary, weird Sunday with us.
Yes, thank you all.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Heidi. Thanks for coming.